What is up, guys? Today I'm bringing you guys an updated Cyber Angel deck profile.
Don't lose your way, your mind, we have to be as one.
So to start this video, I'll be explaining a few, things about the channel, what's been going on, why you guys haven't been uploading, a few other things. If you guys just want to get straight to deck profile, I'll have all these points linked down below in the description box. You'll be able to move the extra deck, etc. The main deck. The main thing I have three things I wanted to talk about. The main thing is obviously the inconsistent uploads. I've been pretty dang busy at work over the past 4 weeks. I believe over the 3 out of the last 4 weeks, I've worked 40 hours, and the week I didn't, it was 39. So I've worked almost 160 hours over the past 4 weeks. And half the time when I get home, I'm so tired that half the time I sit on play games on my PS4 and go to bed. I don't always get straight over to recording videos like I probably should, but I'm going to try to at least make more of an effort to do that now. The good news is I do have a vacation coming up, which we're going to get to that shortly. The second thing is better news, which is things I've purchased with your guys' ad revenue. So a few weeks ago, I received my first AdSense revenue check from YouTube. If you don't know how it works, if you post videos to YouTube, when you've reached the ad revenue that you have has reached a certain threshold. In the case of US, it's $100. YouTube will pay you for the ad revenue that you've helped them generate. So with that check that I got from YouTube, I actually purchased a really, really nice microphone. It's a Blue Yeti blackout microphone. If you've seen it on stream, it is a really, really high quality microphone. I heard what you guys were telling me that the audio quality was not good, so I used your guys' money to take that step. I also bought a brand new tripod, so it'll probably make deck profiles a little more stable. The one I had was a bit small for my taste, so I got something a little taller. So that's one thing you will never have to worry about with me. I will always use your guys' ad revenue for stuff to improve the channel, and the same thing will go for donations as well. The third thing I want to talk about, this is the best news, is that the Houston Regional is coming up, and I will be taking this deck that I am profiling to the Regional. The signed deck is probably going to have a little bit of alteration, but I will be taking this deck to use the Houston Regional in the not too distant future. So the Houston Regional is October 22nd. I believe ABC's released the day before, which means I've kind of built my side deck a bit with the deck in mind. I don't have a fully complete side deck yet, but I'll profile it for you guys. And of course, I took my vacation week, the week of the regionals, so I will have plenty of time to play test and get ready for the event. Hopefully that will also give me more time to get content ready for you guys. So with all that out of the way, we'll go ahead and get to the deck profile, because obviously that's why you clicked on this video in the first place. First off, we have the 3 copies of Cyber Angel Ben 10. Ben 10 is probably the best card in the archetype. Whenever she is tributed, she searches a light ritual monster from your deck to your hand. She has an on-field effect that's kind of like Elemental Hero Wingman, but you're never going to ritual summon her because she is tribute fodder. She's also not, her search effect is not once per turn, so if I had cards like Dawn of the Herald, you can use her again and again in a turn, and it's obnoxiously good. Next up, we have 3 copies of Cyber Angel Idaten. I did try to fit Daikini in this particular list. Daikini and Herald don't really mix together because you need all your monsters to be level 6, but I know you guys are probably watching this, saying, why are you running this and not just running the pure Ben 10s? Well, stay with me for a minute. The main reason I like Idaten is she has a really good effect when she's tributed to pump up all your ritual monsters by 1,000 attack and defense. That may not seem like a lot, but when you realize that Blue Eyes can simply summon alternative and beat over your Herald, that's where this card comes in. It helps you game 1 against Blue Eyes because it'll prevent them from simply summoning alternative and getting over your Herald, which is really good. She also has a nice effect, deck thinning effect, that allows you to search ritual spells from your deck and also recycle them from graveyard whenever she's ritual summoned. So I like the 3. Then we have the 3 copies of Herald of Perfection. The whole deck is built around this card. I was initially playing 2, but then I decided to pump it to 3 because the card's that good. Basically, whenever it's on the field, whenever a spell, trap, monster effect is activated, you can discard 1 fairy type monster from your hand to negate the activation and destroy it. It's also, unlike cards like Avian, you can use it multiple times, and it's a little bit different than if you have, it is multiple times in a chain, which is really nice. So yeah, 3 Heralds. Pretty dang good card. whole deck's built around it. Then we have the one copy of Saphira, Queen of Dragons. Saphira is a card I know a lot of players are cutting from the deck because, you know, they can't handle waiting until their end phase, I guess. But the card is really good. It allows you to cycle back any of your resources during your end phase, and it also combos really well with Ouroboros, which you saw at the beginning. It combos really well. You can hand loop your opponent for 2, and it's always nice. I never really find the need for more than one. I was testing 2, but you have to remember, unlike Daikini, Saphira is once per turn, but she is during both players' end phases, which is pretty nice in some cases. Next up, for the other stuff, of course, the ritual deck, we play 3 Manju. Was trying the Petite Angel in place of one of these Manjus, but I found that the Manjus were just... Petite Angel and Dakini were breaking me really hard. These cards weren't... Manju's really good also because it's a little 4 fairy, so, you know, it's good for rank 4 plays with Norden. Then we have 2 copies of Honest. Honest was a card that I was considering moving to the side, moving out of the deck, but I found that I move it back in. If I insist on playing Saphira, I need to play this card. Plus, a lot of the monsters you do have, like Manju, and like Manju's only on 1400, so Honest, you know, the fact that you have it makes your opponent have to think, you know, okay, most opponents are kind of careful attacking into light monsters in general anyways. Then we have, of course, probably the best engine in the entire deck. We have the 3 Scepters and the 3 Sovereignties. This engine is absolutely nuts. This engine draws you so many cards, nets you so much advantage. Like, it's just absolutely insane. I would not, after testing, I would not play the deck without these, because the main issue these had in the past was that you had to have both in hand, that you'd get stuck with multiple chairs in hand, but no way to get your stick. So now you can search both these pieces, and that makes it so much better. Like, I would not play the deck without these cards. That gives you about 6 normal summons as well, so you but most of the time, you know, it's not that much of an issue. Next and last monster, we have the 1 copy of Archlord Christia. This card it's a lot like Moon Glacier and Mermel's. You play it because when you summon it, it wins games and turns the tide of the game simply by hitting the field. You can special summon Christia from hand when you have exactly 4 fairies in your graveyard. And it turns off special summoning, and on top of that, when it special summons, it cycles back a light monster from your graveyard. Now, that's not a hard condition to meet with this deck, because you have cards like Daigusto Emerald, Ritual Sanctuary to manipulate the fairies in your graveyard. The other thing is, if it's really, really, really need to, you can also tribute summon it too, which is nice. And then next up for the some of the one-up spells, we have the 1 Instant Fusion. Norden is a card. Instant Fusion and Norden is really... Norden's also a fairy, so you can make Fairy Cheer Girl and draw cards and just out annoying stuff that's getting in your way. The 1 copy of Upstart Goblin. Upstart is like, it's a spell card. It gets a spell engraved. It draws you cards. Gets a spell engraved for Ritual Sanctuary. I would play this card at 3 if it was at 3. Now, of course, speaking of Ritual Sanctuary, we have the 3 Ritual Sanctuaries along with the 3 Terraformings to search it. I tested the deck between 2 and 3, and you have to play 3 of this card. It's like a lot like Pantheism of the Monarchs in that it makes bad hands good and good hands better. And the Terraformings are kind of alongside that. You want to see this card first turn. The extra Terraformings aren't as much of an issue because Sanctuary can, you know, it's basically like another spell card you can ditch with Sanctuary or shuffle back into the deck, which is really good. Next up, we have 2 Machine Angel Rituals. The main reason I like having the Ida Tenzin and the Machine Angel deck is Angel Ritual protects more things than Hymn of Light does. So Machine Angel Ritual protects when any light monster will be destroyed. That includes Exceed monsters, which will be more relevant when it make more sense when we get the extra deck. But I actually love this card in the deck. It's really good. So yeah. Next up, I have 1 proxy here because I'm waiting for the last spell card, but we have 3 copies of Dawn of the Herald. The main reason a lot of Herald players hated this card was because the exact level requirement would always brick you, but now that we have Benton, this card has gotten a bazillion times better because when it's activated, you have to tribute a monster equals exactly 6 to summon Herald, but then you can banish it from the graveyard to add back the monster you tributed to summon Herald. So this card is an instant, it's an instant activation for negate for Herald if it resolves, so it's really good. It allows you to keep your hand going, keeps your combos going. It's 3, you play 3. Then we have 1 Hymn of Light for our Saphira. I've seen some players say they'd like 2 of this card instead of 1 because, you know, if you do banish your 1, you can't summon the Saphira again if you cycle it back, but I don't know, I'm a little iffy. I might consider making room for a second one of this. Then we have the 3 pre-Preparation of Rites and the 1 Preparation of Rites. This card is obviously absolutely just nuts. It's a +1 on activation. It gets you and your Herald and your Herald and the Ritual Spell. Absolutely amazing. Preparation Rites is still an amazing card. Yes, it's at 1, but in this deck, it's even better because not only can you cycle back any ritual, you can search your Ben 10, and then you can cycle back any ritual spell from your graveyard. Like, I would play a 3 prep if it was at 3. And now for the side deck, this is going to go a little, I do have a slight quote-unquote finished side deck, but I will say there are some changes I'll probably be making later. I'd like to get a hold of a Necro Valley for the side as well for ABCs and Burning Abyss, but this is kind of what I have now. 2 copies of Maxi. Maxi is the type of card where Herald is a very go-first deck, so I side deck these because these go in when I win game 1. These will go in because I'm going to be going second. You don't let a Herald player go first, or good players won't. So, Maxi, really good. Side deck this, I think, in this deck, at least in my opinion. Then 2 copies of Electric Virus. Ideally, these would be allied of Justice Cycle Readers, because, but Electric Virus is good on its own. So, if you don't know what this card does, it says, this card actually destroyed me at YCS Houston. I remember he used this card on my Ignister. But he says, by discarding this card from your hand to the graveyard, take control of 1 face-up monster your machine or dragon-type monster your opponent controls until the end phase of this turn. So, thinking about my regional, the format is going to be ABCs and Blue Eyes. This card is really good against those decks because you can snatch, if you've baited out their Infinity, you can snatch their Infinity with this and then stack a Gaia Dragon on top of it. Or in the case of Blue Eyes, you can simply steal one of their dragons and then use this thing and use it as tribute fodder for your Ritual Summon. Pretty good card. It's also light, so it triggers Saphira. The 1 artifact Lancia, you only really need 1 because it's searchable via Ben 10. So you don't know what this does. The artifact effect is not what you care about. You care about the last line of text, which says, during your opponent's turn, you contribute this card from your hand or face up on your side of the field. Neither player can banish cards for the rest of the turn. This is a quick effect. So important thing about this card is it prevents... you can't really side deck Imperial Iron Wall in Herald because you need to banish ritual spells. This thing basically is kind of the next best thing, and on top of that, it's searchable via Ben 10. So what you can do is you can search this off of Ben 10, turn 1 against ABCs, and on their standby, tribute this from your hand. They can't make Dragon Buster. On top of that, if you have Saphira out, you'll loop this back and get in your opponent. The ABC player will be just looking at you saltily because they can't play Yu-Gi-Oh! Then 2 Twin Twisters. I think this is mostly for Pendulum's back row heavy decks. Clear off those cards so we can get our combos going. This is a very combo-oriented deck, so Twin Twisters, side those in and for those matchups. Another interesting card is 2 Book of Eclipse, because this is assuming this regional takes place the day before ABC's release. So theory behind Book of Eclipse is that it puts all their monsters face down, and Dragon Buster can't banish this, won't stop this from resolving like it will Swords of Concealing Light. It also puts the ABCs face down, so if they do tag out the activation of this, all the monsters will be put face down, which means you can get rid of them much, much easier, which is really good. Then another interesting tech is 2 copies of Typhoon. Typhoon is really good against a lot of it's like a lot like this and Ghost Ogre are pretty irreplaceable. If you don't know what this says, it basically has just like MST text. Target 1 face-up spell trap on the field, destroy it. If your opponent controls 2 or more spell traps and you control none, you can activate it from your hand. It's an easy condition to make. If it's basically like, it's turn 1 removal when you're going to be going second a lot with this deck. Card fits pretty well. And last 2 cards, we have some Floodgates. It wouldn't be a side without them. We have 2 Shadow Piercing Mirror, 2 Royal Decrees. This is for Burning Abyss and PK Fire. It's not one of the deck's best matchups because the deck and floaters don't play well together. 2 Royal Decrees. A lot of people even main deck these in Herald, and I can't see why I wouldn't at least side them against those annoying Demise decks. Now for the extra deck, we have the 1 copy of Evil Swarm Ouroboros. Probably the best target for your Saros. It has basically the main effect you care about. It has 3 different effects that it can use each once. It can knock a card out of your opponent's hand, you can compulse a card they control, or it can banish a card from their graveyard. So the main point of making this card is you can go into this turn 1 because it can knock a card out of your opponent's hand, make them start with less cards, which is always nice and pretty good. Good card. Then we have the 1 Deltaros. These are the only 2 targets I play. I don't play Masquerade or that Vylon thing I was playing before. But Deltaros and the Seraphs were made for each other, because when you make Deltaros with the Seraphs, you pop a card with Scepter's effects. An important thing to remember about Scepter is Scepter's effects stack. So if you make Deltaros with multiple Scepters, you'll get multiple pops, which is really good. Like, you can easily clear multiple monsters with that. But anyway, Deltaros is also a building block for the next card I'm going to show you guys, is Stellar Knight Constellar Diamond. So a lot of you guys, so if you don't know what this card does, it came out, I believe, in Secrets of Eternity. So you make it by stacking it on top of a Stellar Knight Exceed monster main phase 2. So it's not the easiest card to make turn 1. So that's an important thing to remember, but it is light attribute, so you can protect it with Machine Angel Ritual. Basically, it has 3 effects. The main effect is that it prevents milling, which your opponent can't mill while this is out. And the second thing is that it, anytime your opponent would return, either player would return a card from their graveyard to their hand, it gets banished instead. And then the third effect is it negates dark monsters by detaching a material. Really good against Burning Abyss. The important thing to remember though is Burning Abyss can play around this. They can smack. They can. If you do go into this, you need to have ritual spell protection in graveyard, because Burning Abyss can easily just smack their Beatrice into this, and then beat over it with Pilgrim. And there's a lot of and Acid Golem's another card they can go into to get over it. So it's an important thing to remember. I do like the card, but remember it is not the hardest card for them to out. Next up, we have 1 copy of Castel, the Skyblaster Musketeer. Castel's love, Castel's life. Don't talk too much about it. The 1 Fairy Cheer Girl, good card. It lets you draw cards. You can make it with Norden and any of your other fairies like the Scepters and stuff. The 1 Utopia Lightning, good cards. You need these for getting over beefy monsters and Dark Destroyer, etc. You don't want those monsters triggering. The 1 Dagusto Emerald, this is really important because it allows you to cycle back your entire engine and draw more cards. The other thing is that the important thing to remember is it also can help you set up your Christia plays if you've got too many fairies in grave. The 1 Dweller, like I said, Burning Abyss is not this deck's best matchup, so Dweller should probably definitely be in your extra deck. Next up, we have the 1 copy of Beatrice. Beatrice is really good in this deck because it sets up a lot of your big plays for the deck. It allows you to dump fairies in grave to get that last fairy you need for Christia. It allows you, if you do play Metal Foes Fusion, you can also dump it with this, so pretty good card. It's also light, so if you really wanted to protect it, you can. I don't play Pilgrim, the card it can float into, but there is space for it if you really want to. The 1 copy of M7. M7 is one of the most important cards in this extra deck because it allows you to cycle, basically continue on your plays and make more ritual summons, which is, it's an amazing card in this deck. The 1 copy of Gauntlet Launcher, this is the card I'm thinking about. Maybe this will probably be a Photon Strike Bouncer. I don't have a copy anymore, but this will probably be but Gauntlet Launcher is not a bad card on its own. You can pop multiple cards in a turn. The 1 Utopia Beyond is absolutely amazing. If you can make rank 6s, you make this card. It ends games on its own. The 1 Gaia Dragon, now as I mentioned with Electric Virus, the whole combo, the main thing is, say you have an Exceed monster that's already done its job, like your Gauntlet Launcher, hypothetically. You stack this on this, and it does piercing damage, so it prevents your opponent from, setting up defensively. And the other important thing about this is that, as I mentioned, the whole Electric Virus combo, where you snatch their Infinity and stack this on top of it, is really good. And then the last monster next year, of course, is the 1 Elder Entity Norden. Norden helps this deck so many ways. The fact that it's a fairy means you can make Fairy Cheer Girl with it, which is always nice. But the other important thing about Norden is that it allows you to make rank 4s, which allow you to get over a lot of annoying cards. So that about comes to the end of the deck profile, guys. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think of my deck profile. Do you think it's good? Do you think it's bad? Also, I am looking for advice on what to side, because siding is something I'm not totally, finished with this deck for sure. So anyway, guys, as always, thank you guys for watching. It's Orstorm, signing out.